What's good? It's Nick. Wanted to pop in here and share with you some things that I'm looking at tonight. Crazy, crazy day. Last couple days, really, to be honest, in regards to AMC momentum movement within the market, the way it's kind of corresponding to certain events, schematics, anything you want to relate it to. Just showing like pure resilience in certain areas and loving some stuff that I'm looking at. So, gonna keep this pretty short. No, it's a late video. Wanted to pop in with some things I was looking at late night here and some very, very big indicators leading into a potential massive movement within about 3 to 6 sessions, just based on confirmation. As always, not a licensed financial advisor. I do hold my Series 763 and my SIE, so take what I say with a grain of salt. This is, at the end of the day, my educated opinion. Man, I really wish I had some little Rico voice, because if you haven't watched this video, that shit was hilarious. Maybe I'll do a little leasing when I get a system upgrade, maybe off of this movement that potentially could be happening here soon. Desperately need one of those. Got a better working headset. Hopefully that clears up with the staticness of this video. But let's just hop right into it. Kind of a quick recap on the last technical analysis video. So these are just some trend channels I'm looking at, dating back to pre-pandemic levels and kind of key zones that have played factors in previous runs, supports, resistance, things of that nature, and your VPR on the side here. So I'll kind of zoom in first off because I mean the daily looks good, looks extremely good, to be honest. I know this is a little bit harder to see with this VPR. I just wanted to kind of show you guys where these ranges are coming from. Whether it's a supply zone where it was here, demand zone here. We came down and tested this. Basically, I mean, there's still some confirmation needed. Obviously, we want to stay up in these regions. But I mentioned in the last video that I wanted to flip this kind of zone here into a demand zone versus a supply zone. Because previously, we'd kind of come up and tap it, kind of signifying a supply zone, then reach back down, hit our demand zones where we got our buy hits or buy orders. You could argue there's another demand zone down here, but I loved the fact here, and I'm just going to remove this VPR so that we can see a little bit more clear for those of you watching from your mobile or wherever you may be viewing this from. Greatly appreciate you guys. This is a passion of mine, and I'm glad I get to share something like this with you. This isn't the technical indicator that I'm referencing, but if you've been following me, you'll see it come into play here shortly. Just wanted to zoom in on some things that I'm looking at. So I mentioned yesterday with this kind of candle here, we tested the top of the trading range, came down, tested the bottom of it, and closed up within this region. I believe it was 2244. Yeah, somewhere in that region. And then I mentioned that there's a couple scenarios here. I didn't expect a big movement. So I know that when I said we might stay under this trading range here, I don't know the complete sentiment. I mean, I sent that video out at like 6 a.m. this morning. So with that, I just kind of, I just didn't see a ton of upside in regards to some crazy breakout just because of this candle close here. I saw a couple scenarios here. I said we could potentially break this top here around 2380, 85 mark, and then test up in this range. But this is honestly a much better, more relaxing, peaceful day, if you want to call it that, in my eyes, because we did a bunch of very key movements here. One, we closed the gap. I know we opened up a little bit higher. We tested this range early, like I mentioned that we could. Figured it would be a form of resistance, and then they shot us down to this level, 2180-ish range, 2190. And then if you caught my tweet this morning, we were kind of pressing this zone. I was like, okay, like this is extreme short pressure off of a good CPI read in regards to market reaction. They're going to use this and try to short it down. And we're likely going to test the 200 SMA, which is this blue line right here. Didn't call it to a T. I think it said, gosh, what was it? 2075 or something. I know it was very close, but I don't care if it wasn't to the penny. I just mentioned that there is a chance that if this slips out, we could go down and test that 200 SMA, and I wanted to see a strong confirmed bounce off of it. That's exactly what we got here. A very strong bounce off of this. I actually, not financial advice, DCA'd into some of the 30s that I have out to next Friday. I caught them a little bit early. I didn't quite think they would slip this zone here. So as they slipped it, I think I caught it right beneath here. Really wish it would have grabbed more in this region. I just wanted to kind of confirm the bounce before I went super heavy on them. So I have a pretty solid position on those 30s to 819, below $1 average right now. So very much like that position with my dollar cost average. So not financial advice to FOMO into something. What I am going to say here shortly is going to be extremely bullish in my eyes because I've never seen this personally occur in AMC history, but we'll save that kind of for the end of the video here. Just keep teasing at it there. But I do really like this bounce off the 200 SMA. If you've been following my stuff, I mention a lot of the times when we break key zones, I guess you want to say, it's always healthy to come back and retest that. It kind of confirms the strength or confirms that the demand being sent is not necessarily match with supply, but it basically verifies the demand and the strength behind it, saying that the market agrees and the demand is, I don't want to say bullish, the demand is having a brain fart here. It's been a long day. The demand is verified. I guess we'll just leave it at that. So when I see these breakouts and mention that there's retest, it's extremely healthy to see, especially with something of this kind of weight in regards to technical indicator. 200 SMA on a daily candle chart. It holds a lot of weight. I mean, it's pretty significant. That's kind of where we got stopped out here. It doesn't show you exactly right because these start to curl down, but this was almost exactly where we got stopped out. Also a key resistance historically, and we've kind of got stomped there before and just shot back down. Then you got your 50 EMA here as well. But I love the fact that we came back and back tested this. Kind of signified that this is now a demand zone. I would love for that to remain the case. I don't want to really come down and retest this. We could have a double bottom, give us even more strength to the upside. But I did mention that if they short us like this, there is a chance the movement gets delayed into Friday or Monday of next week. Could be tomorrow too. This is just what I mentioned in the last video. So that's what they did, but we got a very strong bounce off of here. Came up and tested this top range, and about the best case scenario that we could have had. Our buy volume outweighed our sell volume. I think it does most days, but it just shows that the bulls were in control here. So there's different kind of characteristics or what you want to define this as. I study candles. I've talked about the inside candle before. There's a couple different scenarios on what this could be. I don't want to get caught up too much on this candle because of course we can kind of see the sentiment shift, the key parts that we bounced extremely strong off of the zone. Got a hammer type candle towards the top with a long wick. Just kind of shows some good change within sentiment. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't want to get too caught up on these. It's following two red candles. So anyways, just want to kind of bypass that for now because that's not the bulk of this conversation. This is more so a technical analysis in regards to momentum shifts and what's being forecasted here. So going into tomorrow, off of this candle here, couple scenarios, and then we'll get into that big historical technical setup coming up that I see here soon. But what I'm seeing here is we got a good test of this center trend line here. So if I zoom back, you'll kind of see the significance of it. Back here, it's just a trend line, basically. It shows when we're under it. Not that we're not in control, but it shows our strongest movements come when we kind of get up above this middle trend line. Then you got that upper trend resistance that is nice to get and kind of claim. But it's just a trading range that we've been following historically. that I think holds a lot of weight here. You can kind of see here where we've came up and tapped it, fell beneath it into our demand zones and tested supply zones and then treated that as a demand zone, but then kind of failed that back in this range when they really slipped us with different types of algorithmic changes and stuff. But I'm saying a lot of ums, so gonna publicly apologize for that here. We're gonna try to avoid those going forward. Just a lot of thoughts going through my head right now. So into tomorrow, what I would like to see is a couple scenarios. I'm with Rico on this. I really want to see some strong volume follow through. Something, let me see. I don't even know if we can find a comparison necessarily here. What do we got? This is 168. Yeah, I mean this would be nice. I would love to see 150 to 200 million volume. Obviously, anything higher than that is more than welcome. But I'd love to kind of engulf this candle and this candle, show the demand shift. So I'm looking for about 150 to 200. Anything higher is just cherry on top. But I do want a high volume trading day. Out of the gates, this is a extreme shift of momentum here to close the day. So if broad market holds, I don't like basing it all off broad market. This is just a factor that could play into account here. If broad market holds, I'm with him as well. I think we could kind of gap up a little bit, maybe open in that 24, low 24 levels potentially, and then kind of get a strong push up early into this zone, maybe testing this 25.75 level early before they want to pull us down. I am personally going to be patient as well. I would love for them to just rip it out of the gates, but I'm tired of kind of leaving gaps. So me personally, maybe it's a little bit selfish. I would like to honestly, I'd love to start red. I know that sounds crazy after 5.5% green day, but I'd love maybe just to start a little bit down, just them trying to regain strength on the bearish side. And if they want to come out and come down and test this 2230 level, it's the level I mentioned in my tweets today. If they want to come down and test this early, by all means, go for it. Like you're literally just gonna have the long bulls kind of loading up the absolute boat over here because they see through your games and everything that these short hedge funds are trying to do. So I would prefer to come down to this region early. With this demand shift, though, I guarantee, well, nothing's guaranteed. I bet you we do potentially leave a little bit of a gap at open, get that filled. They might have a deep flush to this 2230 mark, potentially down to this trend line around 2180 region. So 2180 to 2230 is a key region I'm looking at to, me personally, grab some more positions here because I know that a big move is coming. Obviously, do whatever meets your financial risk. This is not saying to go full port. I know that's a good joke people love to say, but just be smart. I mean, this isn't. I don't think this is the holy grail. Squeezes on. What I'm about to say here soon. There's a chance of it. I'll kind of leave it at that right now. Just keep teasing towards that. But I think that we do come down and maybe retest this 2230 mark, whether that's after the push up or right off the open. This zone will likely get retested. If it doesn't, like if there's a true momentum shift and SPY wants to keep cranking to like 430, 435 mark and keep that uptick, then we could see a strong move early on and go up and test this 25.75 level that I mentioned. It'll roughly be 25.65. Somewhere within this region. If we're shifting this and turning this into a demand zone, this is going to act as a supply zone initially. So I think that we go up and test this 26.5, maybe come back down, test 25.50. I would love to get some consolidation potentially in this range. I know at this point, once we're back into these levels though, it's going to be extremely hard for these shorts to kind of hold strength, meaning there's going to be some FOMOs. There's going to be a lot of buying pressure stepping in if we get that high volume day. I don't know if we'll stay in this region long at all. Like this is one of our lowest volume regions in regards to VPR in the last 3 years. So this is an extremely low volume area that's going to kind of act as a vacuum, really anywhere from this 22.5 zone up to, it really goes up to about 29 region. if I go to add the VPR back on, but for the sake of the video, we'll not include that right now. And then we have another, this actually was just something that acted as a supply zone previously in multiple areas. But if we do happen to break this 2650 range, kind of suck right through this VPR gap, I think we got 2750 up to about 29 region. I'll just throw VPR on here real quick just so we have a better idea of a zone, because I do know that volatility is coming in the very near future. So if we have VPR on here from this perspective, so this is your 2650 to about 2575. We could go all the way up and test 29. Like anywhere from 2750 to 29 is a possibility tomorrow. If this region gets broken, there's higher volume within the VPR range here. I don't know how big of a resistance it's going to be. I do know we're going to be pretty hot on the RSI though. So there could be some resistance here, and this is where we kind of get the pull down before we load the slingshot for some things I'm about to tell you about. So tomorrow, low side, well, I guess bullish scenario is we will break through this 2550, test our 2750, so somewhere within this $2 range here. That's a very strong possibility, to be honest. I think 2750 will act as kind of a psychological resistance, and then we could go from 2750 to 29 region in a hurry. I don't see any issue with that just because of this extremely low region of VPR. I do suspect we find some resistance up here. I mean, I'm all game for taking off and making a run up to 36. I'm just giving you a scenario for tomorrow. So I do suspect some resistance within this 29 region if we do manage to break 27.5 within this zone here. But as for that, I don't want to give any crazy outlandish scenarios right now on the next day, because there is a chance of accumulation within tomorrow. I don't exactly understand how that would be the case. It may change perspective on the schematic if that's the case, where we do kind of come up test here, and if we have some accumulation within this region, I don't mind it. I really don't want to accumulate within this zone too much more. I really want to kind of signify this as our demand zone and get back into this top region and break out of this channel here. So if we're within here at high volume, I'd be okay with it. I'd rather be up in this top channel though, and above preferably. So I'm really seeing a potential chance of 2750 to that 29 region tomorrow. I think that's very, very strong chance. Or we'll accumulate in this upper channel and find resistance from 2570 to about 2650. Somewhere within this region. I'm just giving you a range right now, because in the near term, it's all about momentum, volume shift, and major key technical indicators that I'm looking at. So now that we kind of got that out of the way, I guess the bearish scenario is a retest of that 200 SMA. Would like, if that is the case, to be another strong bounce and stay within this channel. Do not want to fall below the 200 SMA. That would kind of deter everything that we've been talking about. But I don't forecast that being the case. That's just a potential scenario, about 10% chance in my opinion. But the big thing that I have actually just stumbled across tonight is, if you know me, I love my 50 EMA, my 200 SMA, and my standard deviation line. So kind of wrapping up the video on this, but we do use standard deviation bands a lot. This is just something I've been using as of the last 3 months in regards to kind of momentum shift, what the standard deviation line kind of resembles. A lot of algorithms run off of standard deviations, so this is just a more of a moving average that can influx algo activity. I don't want to say this is exactly what they use, but obviously this is a very close correspondent to momentum shifts. So historically, anytime we have crossed From the bottom to the upside on the standard deviation line, that's where you get your biggest moves. So here's your standard deviation line on the daily, crossing over your 50 EMA. This was an immediate reaction, and that was January. Before that, you kind of got some back here, but it has to be matched by volume. So that's kind of where you get your signification of it. We broke right through, got the candle cleared over the 200 SMA, came back down under it, and then back under our standard deviation line. I don't got to give you play-by-plays on this, but you can kind of see here's the crossover of the 50 EMA, the standard deviation line. That's when you got this move. Well, if we keep trading here, here's the standard deviation crossover of the 200 SMA. Pretty immediate. You got a nice move off of that. This is coming off of the squeeze on a bit of descending volume though, so your pop isn't quite as extreme. And then you kind of accumulated, got that low volume right within here. You can see down here, fell just slightly below the standard deviation line. Well, we stayed above the 200 SMA and the 50 EMA this entire time. So as we kind of crossed back over that, as soon as volume stepped in, this is where we got a steep momentum shift because we're already over the 50 and the 200. So as soon as that occurred, that's where we kind of got our build up, tested the top of the channel, came down, tested under it to confirm the breakout, and then we just started to get moving. And obviously this is our June run here. If we slide over here, here's across to the downside, kind of shows you just the effects this thing can have with short pressure attached to it. This is also your November 23rd time frame where they just flushed it. But if you see, we never really come back below the 200 SMA within this entire schematic, like up into here. Then obviously when we come back down here for the 34 run, we did fall beneath it on the daily a couple times. But as soon as we got through the standard deviation line on the daily, the further out you kind of extend these, the stronger the momentum shifts can be. And this is all on the 3-day, so just take into account that, like, when I'm talking about this, I kind of skipped right over the daily to show you these crossovers, but this is the 3 days, so each of these candles represent 3 trading days. Probably should have hit on that at the very beginning, but the picture still stays the same. I just want to show you what these can produce. So because we're already over the 200 SMA already here, still below the 50 EMA in this case, once we broke it, we got that bullish movement, snapped the 50 EMA, and then got our 34 push, got the halt, came below 50, and then once they got it back under the standard deviation line, that's when they really got control of it from a short standpoint. And then you'll notice these breaks above the standard deviation line while we're under the 50 and the 200. The breaks above don't always give you a ton of movement because you haven't had the technical crossovers above with moving averages. So this break above here, you got a nice movement, but we kind of got stomped out by the 200 and the 50 EMA on these 3-day candles. So this is 7:15 is the end of this candle. This is your 7:20. And then of course the end of July. But what I do love to see here is we stayed above the standard deviation line the entire time. So this buildup is much stronger than people are giving it credit to, because you'll notice here, look what's about to occur. You have your standard deviation line that we've respected since these two were tested for, here's 3 days, 6 days, 9 days. I mean, you got your wicks below, but the bodies close above. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18 days. 18 days we've respected the standard deviation line, and we're now in a trading zone above the 50 and the 200, and you're about to get a technical crossover with the standard deviation line and the 200 SMA and the 50 EMA. So this is my triple cross. This is what I signify as a triple cross on the 3-day candles. We've never seen this historically. Like when I came across this, I had to double check, had to look back at other indicators, things that we've done historically, but we've never had a concentration of these 3 indicators lining up to this degree ever historically. It's always been one crossover two crossovers, and then we go. We got the one crossover, stomped out, but it's never ever been this kind of funnel-like movement into this crossover here. So this 3-day candle just closed. Today, depending on when you're watching this, Thursday, August 11th, will be the start of a new 3-day candle. So what we want to see for the next 3 days, meaning Thursday, Friday, and Monday, is continued upside, meaning just staying in this channel. We don't, it'd be great to see more upside, but we don't need any crazy movements for this cross to occur. And a lot of times when the cross occurs on the price action or on the candle itself, the indicators follow. So here you saw kind of this candle occur, then the cross, and then this candle. So if you think like we're having this kind of movement without even these crossing fully, like we're just above the standard deviation line and the 50 and the 200, but when these three cross in this pattern, I'm not calling squeeze yet, but within 3 days, this is going to occur if we hold this uptrend, which it's very, very likely that that's the case. So within 3 days, this crossover is going to be lined up. They're either going to be completely jumbled, not fully crossed, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is when we get the cross and the effects from it next week. Oddly lines up directly with Ape Equity Unit. So it, right before it is what I mean. Right before record date and all that jazz. Shorts just have to be quivering looking at this. Like I can't even hardly contain my excitement. I know I don't exemplify it much within my voice, but like this will be insane when this occurs. There's never guarantees. It's never like this is the kill shot. This is your 1348, man. This is how I'd get my memberships. Like no, like this has never happened in AMC history. Whether it's on the 1 day, the week, or anything like that, we've never had a triple cross to this extent on a major macro indicator for AMC. To my knowledge, I mean, based on these three indicators, we've never had it. And to my understanding, I mean, these are some of the strongest indicators I use. Literally, like some of the only ones I use outside of a few others as well. But this setup just looks extremely, extremely good going into the next 3 to 6 sessions. So still needs to be confirmation, not fully confirmed, but once I saw this, I had to get a video out and share this. So I know it's a longer video. Hopefully this will give you guys some good insight, some more quote unquote hopium, aka educated optimism. I hate the word hopium, but want to cut it off there just so you guys can get some sleep, or if you're starting your day, go drink an extra coffee, get your mind right. We're about to have a very crazy 3 to 6 sessions coming up with the fun, hopefully, there's hopium, damn it, starting within the next 3 to 6 days, preferably tomorrow, and the setup is there. So strap in. Appreciate you guys watching. If you could leave a like, subscribe, and comment, that would be great. We'll be in the live stream daily. Me, Rico, Lord, and a bunch of the other traders. You got Chips in there. We're all interactive, hitting other plays throughout the day. Obviously, these meetings have been our main focus, but come have fun. I'll leave the link in the description and look forward to updating you guys tomorrow and the days to come. Hopefully this helped, and have a great rest of your day.